Welcome to Ride to Success, the podcast that takes you on a learning journey to a more productive, creative, and active life. Today I had the pleasure to chat with Bas Tietema, the visionary behind the Tour de Tietema Unibet cycling team. He's known for challenging the conventional boundaries of professional cycling. Bas shares his journey from professional cyclist to a YouTube sensation and now a pioneering team manager. Tietema's approach with his team represents a paradigm shift in the professional cycling scene, emphasizing the importance of engaging content, sustainability, and innovative sponsorship models to ensure the sport's growth and relevance in the digital age. Our conversation reveals the unique blend of innovation, community engagement, and strategic thinking driving the team's success. Now, before we go into the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. It helps us to grow and bring more guests for you to listen and learn with me. Now, back to the podcast. Welcome, Bas, to Ride to Success. It's a pleasure having you here on the podcast. You are, among many things, the manager and co-owner of Tour de Tietema Unibet cycling team, and you have been challenging the status quo in cycling, road cycling. So, and I've read in one of your interviews that you care more about the media value that you bring to a race, that you bring to sponsors, perhaps rather than results to attract fans and sponsors. So having said this, and you coming from the background in cycling, but also starting a YouTube channel, this poses an interesting question based on your experience working within the content creator economy, which is, do you think now creators, content creators, influencers have more power than cycling teams like continental cycling teams, pro continental, or even world tour teams in attracting brands money?
Yeah, thank you for the invite, first of all. It's a good question. I think it's a general question that sports in general is figuring out right now. It started all with like the digital era and the era with social media coming up, where like everyone, like individuals, creators, teams, got the opportunity to create their own brands on their own platforms. When more traditionally, you always needed like external media to give you the exposure that was necessary to attract partners, sponsors, whatsoever. But nowadays, like with the social media platforms, a complete new possibility came up that you're not only have the attention during cycling race itself, but you can create like a fan base, actually fans that you can reach whenever you want on every moment, and you can create it completely yourself if you create a team, a media team that can provide this content. And this is something we started with a few years ago, and I do think that both worlds can really make each other stronger. Of course,
for sure.
Of course, if you make the step into professional sports, you need to reach a certain level, because otherwise it's just going to be an act. So of course you need to have like a good level of athletes and stuff inside the team. But if you can combine that with equally good content creators, I think it's a really nice balance, that when you perform, you can make good content, but even when things are not going well, it happens sometimes in sport, it's still really good content. I really believe in this combination, and you see it, of course, with Red Bull. They are the best Formula One team at the world right now. And yesterday they released a video,
I've seen it. Yes,
about a drone and Max Verstappen, but they are so aware of their marketing power. And I think this is something that will go into cycling as well.
Yeah, I think the content creator economy is really, and like you said, is changing. You are on 24/7. You can reach people all the time, and through storytelling, as you have been doing with Tour de Tiema, you are able to engage with people that are cycling enthusiasts or other people that kind of are interested in the narrative that you are creating through your social media presence. So I wanted to kind of take a step back so that perhaps some people that are listening to us right now don't have a bit of context. So can you just share a little bit about the genesis of the YouTube channel? Because it's an amazing story and how it progressed. So after retiring from professional cycling, what inspired you to start the Tour de Tiema YouTube channel? And was there initial goals? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, it all started back in 2019, and I have a big passion for sports, in particular cycling. And I saw a great opportunity for during the Tour de France to make more challenge format content during a Tour de France, like a Tour de France 21 days. If you can make daily episode with a more behind the scenes and not doing that on a journalism approach, like most media outlets, it's a lot about interviews, it's a lot about the race, but more about the entertainment side. That was where I saw like a great opportunity. But I never had, I don't have any background of videography or of media. It was just something I was really interested in, and so I needed to find some other guys. And in the end, was Devin and Josse, and they were actually the people that could transform the ideas that I had into proper content. So we went to Tour de France with like a small budget. We sleep in tents. Devin borrowed a camera, and it was more the idea like we go once to the Tour de France, could be a really nice experience, and then afterwards we will find our ways in maybe in media or in any other job. But then during this first Tour de France, we saw the interest of the general public. It went from like, we actually started with 1,000 views, and then it became 5,000, 10,000. At the end of this first Tour de France, we were like daily 30, 40, 50,000 views. And
wow, that's very impressive.
In such a short time of 20, 21 days, like 1 month, it's an absolutely, that was the really beginning. And during that same Tour de France, we already got an invite for the Bing Bang Tour, was like a world tour race as well, to do the same thing. So even during that Tour de France, we knew already, there's something next coming. And
that's very good. It's something very impressive that, first that you were able to grow it so exponentially throughout. I mean, the Tour de France is a world tour. It provides a world stage, and it kind of, you capture something there with your entertaining content. And I guess that's important too, that you mentioned about the other organization, the other race organization that spotted you and say, well, there's something here. Let's bring them to our race, because we want as well to have some exposure. And this is kind of, what I guess will take us further along the line, our conversation about how important it is for race organizations to have media coverage that you bring to them, and that perhaps the current other teams that are at your level, so meaning the TDT Unibet cycling team at the level that your team. So you mentioned through challenges, through like daily challenges, through having kind of creating content that is more entertaining. Can you share what was the essence of this content? As your content from that since the beginning until now has always been primarily focused on entertaining the audience through the medium of cycling?
Yeah, it was always the balance between being respectful for sport in general, because I think YouTube and YouTubers have like the image that it has always like every episode needs to be crazier than the one before. And when you are working in like a sports environment, you need to make entertainment, but within the proper lines of respecting the sport. And one of our key elements of the content that we were making was the interaction with riders, because
Yes.
how much, if they are interested in the content that we are making, we will have a way better relationship, and also like a way more fun relationship. And that's something like from the early beginning that we really invested in that relationship as well. And that's also something you see within our content. We did now in the end 4 times the Tour de France in this format, and you see the
Progression over the years.
yeah, and you see that the riders are actually enjoying the kind of things that we are doing. And it started with maybe not even the most famous riders, or maybe even it was more like Dutch riders or Belgian riders in the beginning. But in the last Tour de France, even Tadej Pogacar or Mark Cavendish know exactly what we are doing. And this is something we really build up from the beginning. And sometimes it may feel that like, oh, here we have something that can go viral, because you are seeing so much inside the peloton that we are not journalists. So we always have to take care, like, what does this benefit or long-term goals that we are having with showing the beautiful part of sports, and the more humanized side of a cyclist, because everyone sees the race, but we can show the person behind the helmet.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's suppose an interesting, perhaps, comparison. I wonder what you think. Well, in terms of the content that you have been creating through those 4 years that you have been going to the Tour de France and engaging with the pro riders at the World Tour stage, and seeing the effect, or perhaps the coverage that Netflix did of the Tour de France. How do you compare your content to the Netflix coverage? Because I think that's an interesting nugget of information there.
Both are content forms, but in my opinion, it's quite a different type of content form.
Yeah.
Like Netflix is collaborating with the Tour de France and making content series over the whole Tour de France, where teams are like they are working with. And Netflix is a media company that makes content and don't have any interest in a specific team. And I think the thing what we are doing is we are setting up an own media team. And in sports, it's a lot about trust. And this is something you also see in the Netflix documentaries. If it's Max Verstappen or about Van Aert, they all complain about the things that we are actually seeing in this series is not like how it actually is, but the teams and the organizers just give away the rights, and then Netflix is able to make the content that they want. And of course, for people outside the cycling industry, it's really interesting content to see how the cycling world works.
Drama, yeah. Perhaps.
But we decided to make our own media team, and also make sometimes the decision we are not selling our content. No, we are really investing to make an own platform. We have our own YouTube platform where we have now around like 200,000 subscribers, and we are able to publish there whatever we want. And because we have our own media team is in the same team as the riders, so they don't have any interest to show things that you don't want to share. And because, like, for example, last year we had a rider that crashed in the early beginning of the year, and the question was if he was able to ride again once his bike, because it was a pretty heavy crash. And then you have content, because we were there, because it's our own team, we're always there with our media team. And this is also with Netflix, they are filming on specific moments, but you cannot have a media team year round. So we had this content, but always the question is, when can you use this content? Because if you never make it again as a cyclist, it's really weird to use this. But then he started riding again. He won his first race, and then we show the whole big
process.
picture. And this is really sensitive content, and that's why our media team is really important to have. It's not like different teams, it's just one organization with the same goals. And that's something that maybe external media parties they don't care that much about the athletes, because they have to make their product. So,
Yeah.
this,
So it sounds like it's a relationship that, and you mentioned the example of one of your riders that crashed. So that that content, if you were taking it out of context, you would be quite sensitive. It probably would damage the reputation of the rider. But you were able to work with the rider to build content that you felt comfortable sharing. The rider felt comfortable as well sharing. So it's a relationship that aims to showcase the beauty of the sport, the passion, the charisma of the riders through a kind of a positive lens. Is that correct?
yeah, that's right. But like also the content in general is like, we are making long form content, but we are making short form as well. And so content is a really wide.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it works both ways. The
So
challenge based, long form, short
yeah,
form content. So I think there. So you've been talking about sort of the strategy, that how you use the content, the media team that you have embedded within the team that you created, that have kind of was born out of the YouTube channel, and the kind of spawn a cycling team. So I'm interested how you kind of went from content creation, a media team dedicated to content creation around one of the biggest cycling events in the world, to having your own continental team. And there is, I think I was listening to another podcast where you spoke with Lanterne Rouge, a very famous podcast, and you said there at some point you need to make a distinction between, are you a content creator or are you a business? Now, when I listened to that, I was thinking, yeah, that makes sense. But then I kind of question myself and think, well, I think now in the now in this day and age, at stage in our current society, both can exist at the same time. When we talk about the content creating economy, content creators are running businesses. So at what point for you did it kind of shifted from a media team content creating that you were enjoying, and then decide, let's turn the dial here so that we think of it as a business rather than a fun project? Where was that shift, if you can share a bit more of that journey?
yeah, I think first of all, a lot of things we are doing has a lot to do with purpose, to show how the sports economy can work on content creation and the important role of media. I think that's really something that's driven inside all three of us, to show them more, for me more from cycling perspective, but Devin really from media perspective, and also from commercial perspective. But when you are making content with just 3 personalities and 1 camera guy, you have really low cost. So you can pretty much reach the same audience and make a lot of collaboration with brands. And so from commercial perspective, individually, you will generate way more profit than when you have like a whole team in the beginning. But you never become from 3 content creators the world best team. So there needs to be like a lot of steps in between. But then I think it was in 1.5 years later from where we started, it was the first time that pops up in my mind, that I was thinking, like, if we can create fans with the content that we are making, and those people are fan of the content that we are showing them, and if we are creating then a team on the lowest level, would it be possible to take those people into our journey? And
Yeah.
that's the struggle in general in cycling. You have so many people watching the cycling sport, but how many people really engage with teams, or like how many people are
Yeah.
actually fan of a team? And that's something what makes the business model also pretty tough, because you don't have many fans. Like in Formula One, you really are Ferrari or Mercedes, but in cycling, it isn't really the case. And that was the moment where I really believe if we can start not from like a business case, but really from a fan perspective, then we can set up a team with a lot of fans already, with a media outlet or YouTube
Yeah.
channel. And then
Yeah.
the cycling team then can be like the journey of our content. So, there
Yeah.
is some possibilities.
Yeah, that's very interesting what you said. Because that you are right on the money is in saying that the current model of cycling racing, cycling sponsorship is a bit flawed, and you have, as again pointed out, the cases of F1 where people have affiliations not to a team but is more deeply ingrained into the brand, the Ferrari, and that's kind of that Ferrari, for instance, it will stay. If the sponsors will change, but that will always stay there. And I can see that as well in football. You have legacy teams. You have, speaking in the UK, you have Manchester United. They will change sponsors, but they will always beat Manchester United. And in the same way, in your case, you will change sponsors down the line, but you will, hopefully, if down the line, you will always be Tour de Tietema than something else. So because you are kind of, you know this, but you are already leveraging the passion for the people that want to follow you, want to engage with the personalities that you showcase, the challenges that you create, the narratives that through the racing, but also through the backstage uh, videos that you create. It enables people to feel a more profound kind of engagement and admiration for your team, for what you stand for. And I think that's perhaps where you have more power in terms of the media, the media coverage that you bring, the fan base that you can bring to a race, and so I'm thinking here, well, World Tour teams should be looking at you and thinking, well done, what can we be doing different?
Yeah, but
Because
it's
this is
not
the way we're doing is not working for us.
yeah, but it's not that easy, because that otherwise other teams will have done the same. But it's a really short term versus long term vision, because one of the most valuable assets of a cycling team is selling your identity and selling your sponsor name. That's the reason where the whole industry is based on. And because we were coming from a media outlet, we had already a name and an identity. Well, normally the cycling teams start with a blank page, and they are just selling the whole name. So in the beginning, maybe we could have like a few millions more if we sold our first name as well. But we have the principle that we want to have our own identity. But next to that, also, like, the identity is not only a name, it's also the identity of colors or of how you are behaving. And that's something we are quite lucky that the partners we are working with already saw this during our time as YouTube creators. So they believed in the way how we were doing this. And we had really convinced them that it's way more value than it's way more value if you do just a step back, because we will have way more fans. And the reason why many people, external media, talk about us is because we are doing it different, and this will influence your brand as well. Well, if we are going to do it completely the same as all other teams, then we are just a regular cycling team. So if we are completely green because Unibet is green, like how they've done it in the past, we can do it. That's maybe on short term more value, but in the end, if we are going to be the first cycling team ever that will make it as YouTube team with an own identity, with an own media outlet to the Tour de France, that's going to be a unique story, and you can be a part of it, and that will, how do you
Yeah.
call, will have a lot of influence over for your brand as well. So yeah, it's really short term, long term, and I really believe that this will work out in the long term. But I really understand that it isn't really that easy if you are running a business. And for example, now I think Jumbo Visma has like done a step in the right direction with keeping the yellow colors, and but they still need to, like, the name of the team is still Visma Lease Bike, because it's the most valuable asset, and it's always the balance between the budget that you just need for performance, or
Yeah, I mean, you're right you're right to say that it's the purpose. The purpose and the long-term vision is that what matters to you, because that's what throughout the years, in 5 years' time or even less, when you reach the Tour de France, that's what people will recognize, the purpose that you have, the value that you bring to the races, and to the fans, obviously. But I mean, this is is branding. Is branding is When you think of branding, you think of an identity, and making sure that the brand visuals, the purpose, the objectives are clearly communicated throughout its journey. And obviously, being starting within the content creation, it kind of naturally shifted the kind of the way you start a business, because starting a business requires that you have a product, and you're not necessarily at the product. You are just showing your personality, showing you the sport that you loved, and that through creating and engaging content and bringing people with you through that journey, then start building a brand from that engagement, from that reach that you created with bringing people to in your journey. So it's basically great branding, and the business model has turned it upside down, which now it's the case for many content creators and the content creative economy. So it's a great step in the right direction, because down the line, when you think of Bas Tietema, you know what it means, you know what it represents. Like you said, what the colors look like, the personality, the values. So yeah, that's a great asset that needs to be preserved.
on the other hand, on the other hand, we are now making the step to the pro team level. That's like the second league of the cycling industry, and you still see that there are a lot of traditional brands that are just still looking to UCI points or the level of racing. So of course we have a really valuable asset, and there are many brands that like to work with us because we are having this asset of media, and they understand the value, and they even stepping in, especially for that. They don't really care about the cycling performance because they know, okay, we can reach this audience. But on the other hand, we also see brands that, like, if you look at the budgets World Tour teams or pro teams have, like, some brands still see us as 3 YouTube creators, and just the budget of some of those teams are way out of our league that we are working with. So of course, we really believe that this is going to be the future, but the brands and are still, like, it's the same. Like, if I was a CMO and I had like a budget and I could choose for a World Tour team or like a YouTube channel that started as a Continental team, and I have to make a decision between those teams, and I have to explain this to my CEO, the most safe way is just going for the World Tour team, because that's something that's understandable, that gives guarantees, So the thing that we are doing is quite can be like, it's quite a risk to step in. It can have great value. It can have, like, as you are seeing right now, it's going with an insane speed in the cycling world, but it's still a bit unsure.
Well, first of all, let me say that in the example that you gave, that CMO, that he should be fired if he can't convince the CEO to where the value is. Then yeah, maybe they need to rethink their budget allocation. But to the other point, it's just the way the kind of the cycling model is flawed. So something needs to change. And from my opinion, what you're doing is a great model to follow, because it enables you to create a brand, not just a team, and that's what I think ensures longevity for a team. I mean, obviously, this is an interesting point, because with team management, you have, you are also limited to how much money you have. So kind of wanted to quite take us into a very curious aspect, because is that also through my research, I found out that you have to grow the team to its current state at the moment. You have used you looked at analytics, and you looked at data, athletes' data. It reminded me of the Moneyball film, where the coach is looking at data points rather than looking at the physique of the athlete. Or so I'll let you explain, because I know where I want to go. But how was the process of selecting athletes for the current team, as the current state of the team, and how that, and what was the approach to try to align the selection of athletes to the brand purpose?
It's a really good question, and of course we don't have the budgets of maybe other teams, but I think in general it's also a lot about priority. And if you're looking in teams in the cycling world, if they have 2 million or 40 million, most of the percentage of what they are of their budget will always go to performance. And in our world, or like in what we are doing, the media part is such an important part. So there will always be a really good balance between those two. It's not good that it's going to be like 95% performance, but it's always the question: is an extra trainer now more value than an extra editor? Or like, it's always those kind of questions that also make like one of the most what take out most of the budget is salary of riders. A lot of salary of riders is because you have a name, and a certain rider has like a media exposure, and is one of the how do you call it, the name of the team, like like Chris Froome in Israel, or like, now you need one name to ensure your wildcards, to ensure your popularity, to ensure your media value. And in our vision, we really believe that if we invest in our media team, we don't need that specific rider, because we can generate our own media value. So,
exactly, yeah.
And then you reach that certain point that we don't have the budget to take the best riders, and it's also not our philosophy, because we want to work with young, upcoming, and talented people. So we were more looking like, okay, we don't really care about what someone reached in the past, but we are looking what someone can achieve in the future. And salaries in cycling are really related to things that have been
happened in the past.
So if someone of 35 years old win a classic, he is getting way more salary because he has won something. But good to him. But
Yeah.
I think, like, how big is the chance that he will achieve something in the future as well? And so we started looking more on, especially the continental level. That's the third level of cycling, and there you have so many talented riders that if you can pick the best ones together, and also people that really fits our culture of really setting up a team, maybe putting your own mission a bit aside, but just that you jump in this train and trust in us that we will reach this Tour de France. You can take a lot of out of it, and this is something that started 1.5 years ago already, with some Dutch riders that stepped into this continental team. And this year they will be riding Amstel Gold Race. It's something they never believed in almost anymore, because like there were actually some riders that had the decision, or I quit cycling now, or I jump in this project. And that's how we started with finding riders also for this year as well, and doing that a lot on data analysis, but also a lot of talks more on personal note. And that's something, when you see this group coming together, it's all people that want to go upwards. So they are really related to each other, and they feel a bit, okay, we are the underdog. People don't really believe in our abilities because we don't have names, so people don't really know them. But we are really strong as a team, and this is something in the first races that we saw already. We don't have one particular leader, but if the group is only like 30-40 riders big anymore, we are there with 5 or 6 riders, and people are really surprised. Whoa, they are there with that many riders. So we believe really in the strength of the team in general, and with our media team, we can generate the media value that other teams maybe need to have one specific
Exactly.
big athlete that's postable.
Exactly. That's. I mean, that's. It makes complete sense, because you need to have that unity. You need to have that team culture, so that everyone gels together, so they know that you're working towards the same goal, and without having perhaps a conflict of egos, but knowing that, as you said, everyone is in this upwards trajectory of wanting to constantly improve and grow the team in the process.
Yeah, but it's difficult because there are in cycling, it's really focused on, you need to have results, otherwise you don't get a contract. Well, for us, last year we had an example. The guy who won the biggest race of our team didn't make the cut for this year, and
Oh wow, okay.
that's because, like, if you zoom out on that day, he did the perfect job and he won the race. But if you zoom out, you have to believe in the things that we are doing, and it's not just winning a race. It's not like it's just one moment. And so in cycling, it's really like budgets. What I told you as well, salaries are really based on winning one specific race. But if you are working as a team, one day doesn't make you, one moment isn't really the person who you are. That's decided on the whole year, how you are working, how you are.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. That tells me a lot about the values that you have, and that you commit to nurturing the team, because it's all about it's all about the group, not the individual.
Yeah, and exactly. The mission is Tour de France, and then we can reach that when everyone wants to be in. But if, like, there are a lot of short-term goals, but if you are just focusing on I need to win this race, in the bigger picture, this specific race doesn't really matter. It's more on, we have to progress and we need to become better, but it's not, of course, it's on that moment, winning is a little lift in our viewership, but to be consistent, growing to the top, and winning is just like a short-term goal.
Yeah. So that's kind of, you have that vision of, we are growing this team, we are bringing the fans with us to the Tour de France. In this upwards trajectory, there might be lows, there might be highs, but the important marker is the Tour de France. When do you think realistically you can be at the Tour de France eating pizza in the Champs-Élysées?
We have 26 in mind, and yeah, for now I don't know why we couldn't make it. Like, if we are looking to this year, we are riding our first World Tour race. Next year we would like to ride a first Monument and maybe like our first Grand Tour, and then 26 Tour de France. And the biggest challenge maybe this year is that we are always new. So I believe that we have a strong team, that people who are not really into what we are doing, they see us, YouTube team and just new, and those names, I have no idea. So this is something we always need to prove, and that's, I think we are doing that already this year.
Yeah, you clearly are. I mean, it's I think it's a sad state of affairs that the massive media team that you have can bring the visibility that you can bring to races, and you have a fan base that is global. It's a sad state of affairs that race organizations cannot see the potential of inviting you or having you in the race.
Some do. It's a big. There are some that are really into it. They understand exactly what we are doing, and they even come before the season starting to us like, we really want to have you in the race. But on the other hand, you have people that don't see it.
Right.
Because you also have really strong teams that maybe take hospitality. So there are a lot of interest involved, and we are bringing that media asset, but maybe other teams bringing other stuff in. And
Exactly.
you need to have someone on that position that really understands the key value of the content and what can benefit that for their own event. If you have someone in that position that has nothing with media or even social media or like content creation in general, then you don't see the value.
Yeah, they don't see the value. It sounds like a classic. Well, not a classic. It's just a clash of tradition and the future.
Yeah, and I think we need to bridge that, and we don't have to be like, they don't understand it, so we don't care. I think it's up to us to make that bridge to traditional media, to external media, to explain them what we are doing, and explaining that we also stand for professionality, that we are not just making content because of the content. No, this is just how sports gonna look like future-wise.
Yeah, that's a very, very sorry. Yeah, that what I meant to say is that's a reality that is already happening. And athletes, teams already leveraging that. And that's kind of why I asked the question at the beginning, are content creators or influencers more powerful than traditional cycling teams? Because they can, I think, bring more value to the sport as a whole, but also to the events they take part in. And they also, through the exposure that you bring, you also inspire younger generations to come to the sport, to feel excited about it. So I think there is all positives to take from, the kind of the route that you are taking. What advice would you give to aspiring cycling enthusiasts and content creators wanting perhaps to replicate what you did what you're doing.
I think one of the best advice is asking yourself, who is my customer? And maybe divide your content. Like, of course, you are working with brands, so your brand is your customer and is maybe paying you to make the content. If it's a cycling team, or maybe when it's just like a YouTube format. But always remember that the brand benefits from the fact that people are interacting and engaging and watching the content that you're making. So really think about how you can make branded content into content that's also really entertaining to watch, and make that good balance, because otherwise you are always making branded content, but then you're actually making the branded content for nobody, because there is so much branded content on the internet. Then you can check it from, I have to do this. And I really believe that there is a really perfect balance that you can really on an organic way use brands, and especially in the cycling industry, and bring this into your journey while still making quality and good content that is really interesting to watch for fans and for cycling enthusiastic people. And this balance is it's difficult, and sometimes brands demand some things for you, like maybe your fans. If you can find this balance, you can create a sustainable way of making an income and also stepping up the game. And I think that's the key. That's if you can do that, I think is one of the important
That's
things.
very well said. I mean, knowing who you are speaking to, knowing that who you like to show this content to, or why are you creating to, and who is it for? That's a very good pointers to have. So I think that kind of we touched this already a bit, but perhaps you have a different answer. But obviously, we are in the podcast Right to Success. So what does success look like to you?
Success is really difficult because I'm always like far ahead. For me, it's really difficult sometimes to enjoy the moment. Well, if I'm looking back in 2019, which we were just three of us going to the Tour de France, and now sometimes when I walk into the office and we have more than 70 employees, we have a cycling team that's riding on the highest level of cycling. It's, of course, I'm really proud and glad what we have done in the past. But then what is success? Because I'm already thinking, okay, maybe what's next after 26? And because even 26, it's 2 years, still 2 years to go, but it's not really a long-term vision. And
No.
so for me, success, and where I'm really happy with, is that I've created something that doesn't feel as work at all. So I'm living the thing what we are doing, and I enjoy content, I enjoy sports, and if I had never set this up, I would work in the same industry as I'm doing right now. And that feels for me as personal as success, that that I can live something without having the feeling that it feels like work, but I can make a living out of it.
So yeah, that's a very good vision for it. Being able to enjoy what you do and not see it as work, but as a passion, as a great commitment with a purpose, that you see the value in it and you are happy to do it. So yeah, that's a very good takeaway for people, for myself, for people listening. I've started a tradition in the podcast where every guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are. And this question worked out very well for you, I think. But we'll see how you answer it. But the question is this: what can you tell us that the Dutch have done better that we can apply in you?
And not leaving the European Union, or more sports related, I think It's pretty hard to say, because if I'm taking this into the more cycling perspective, I think every federation or every country has his ups and downs. Because when we are looking at the Olympics of the London Olympics, I think like every nation around the globe would be really proud of the success that has been made by British Olympic of the British Olympics. So in that period of time, they were on top of the sports world. And nowadays, maybe like after the times of Wiggins, Thomas, Cavendish, still there, but not on that level anymore.
Yeah.
They can have the feeling that other countries are doing better. Well, in Holland, we have the same struggles, because we have those top athletes. We have Mathieu, we have Demi Vollering, and we have Harry Lafrijze, but we are struggling as well to keep new people coming into the sport and being there for everyone. So the top division athletes, I think we are indeed on a really high level. And maybe that's like, it looks good.
That's about inspiring younger generations to come into the sport.
So it looks good. Sometimes it really looks really promising from the outside, but I believe everyone has his own struggles as well. So as a cycling fan, maybe it looks from the outside, whoa, those Dutchies have the best riders in the world. What the fuck are they doing? What does it make that they all have the best talents in the world? And of course, it's something that they are working really hard, but they are struggling with issues as well. So I think they have done a lot of good things, but so did British cycling. And
very well. I guess now is the time for you to put someone else on the spot.
And I don't get to know who it is. And it's in the sports industry.
Yes, it's in the sports industry, yes.
I do think that I have like a good question. It's maybe more an ethical question. We have some brands involved, like maybe so do we have like you have betting partners, you have fast food partners, you have alcohol. The biggest partners in sport events are not most likely brands from more environmental society perspective. So how do you balance the ethical between maybe brands that gives the possibility to bring women's cycling, or what like for us setting up a team, but then maybe on the other hand having a partner that also have maybe some negatives, and how do you cooperate it?
That's a good question. There's quite a lot of ramifications to very many possible answers to that question. Thank you for coming on the podcast. It's great chatting with you about the project, the team, your vision, and the purpose that you have. And I look forward to continue following your journey. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
It was a pleasure. Good luck.
I think it's fair to say Bas Tietema's journey from professional cyclist to a trailblazer in cycling media and team management offers valuable insights into the power of innovation and strategic thinking in achieving success. I think his team continues to redefine what is possible in cycling. Their story serves as an inspiration for business and cycling teams. Now, before you go, please remember to leave us a review wherever you listen to the podcast, and tune in to next week's episode where you will hear Bas Tietema's question being answered by my next guest. Until then, thanks for listening.